to take us home. Feels like the start of this. Well, I don't know. We feel like I enjoy the start of the season, but definitely feels like the end of the season, Andy, as our last. Well, not really. We don't even have that much time off. It is the end of the season. It is the Tour Championship. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. And yeah, it is the end of the season. Swing season is going to be fun, though, as usual.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a golf hardo, if you just enjoy betting golf, if you think you have an advantage there, I think there's a lot of people that have advantages there. If you pay attention, I feel like I've done better on matchups in some of the swing season events where, it's a lot of the also rans and has-beens that are playing. But after this, we do take a week off from golf, essentially. There will be DP, the Omega next week, but Procure in 2 weeks for Napa. That's what did Napa used to be called? Fortinet?
Fortinet, yep.
So now it is the Procure in Napa, week off ahead of the President's Cup, which is a lot of fun if you like that. Anyone who's unfamiliar, it's the Ryder Cup. Except us versus Europe, it's us versus anyone who is not Europe. Canadians,
any Asians,
South Korea, Australia, South Africa, they're big in that. I'm not sure if we'll see anyone from the subcontinent or any other Asian countries besides Japan and South Korea. And those are kind of the big countries. Sometimes some South America perhaps, but President's Cup should be fun. And then you got the Sanderson, we got the new one, the Black Desert in Utah, Shriner, Zozo, Worldwide Tech, Bermuda RSM, Hero World, Grant Thornton, and the PNC. Some of those in December. The format is a little different, but there still is, 10, 11 tournaments this year. We're not going to do an hour on the Sanderson Farms, but we'll gather
the better ones.
Yeah, I know that is one of the better ones. We'll gather together our thoughts and sit down for 20 minutes, half hour, and do a betting show because I'm going to bet on all these events, especially, the President's Cup isn't super. Those style tournaments aren't great for betting for the most part. They're fun, but it's hard to get a lot of bets in day to day on that. I know I bet on the Ryder Cup every time, but this is the end, but not really. We do have our swing season content. We'll do our best. Anything else you guys want to hear about or talk about, or if you have any questions, we will certainly cover those on shows as we will have time, which kind of leads me into it's not the best time. It's not like the best time for me to pitch you on signing up for Betsperts Golf, but this is a limited deal we have. Look at this, full screen here.
Oh, buddy.
It is available in 46 states. So it's one of those things where a full year membership is $250 regular price if you don't get some sort of, a promo code that you're using on this. I will give it to you for 10 if you sign up for a Rebet account using our promo code BSG and, depositing $10. So it's one of those grasshopper ant things where maybe you're not so excited about signing up for a golf membership and, using it to model the Zozo in a month and a half. But come January, when it's, if you want to get re-upped or maybe you want to sign up for a sub, it's $30 a month, $250 a year, when you could have just been sitting on a $10 membership for longest. So and the only reason I'm pushing this is limited. I'm not going to have this offer in January. I doubt I'll have this offer later in the fall. Once we get a certain amount of signups, I'm just not going to have this offer anymore. So take advantage. The links are in the description of the podcast and the YouTube. 46 out of 50 states. If you live in one of those 4 states, by God, DM us. And we'll try to help you out with some sort of other promo code because I do want to help out the poor people of Idaho, Montana, Nevada, and the Wolverine State, Michigan, where our friend Ron is from. So take advantage of that if you like to think ahead. Now that you can give yourself a pat on the back saying, look, I was thinking ahead. The Masters, I have a full subscription. I'm running models. I'm making stuff. I'm reading the premium content. So just something to think about. Appreciate you guys. And also, if you are watching, please do click the subscribe button. That helps us out as well. We enjoy doing these shows. We enjoy rapping about golf every week. And even this week, what's your overarching thought on the Tour Championship? You said off the air you don't have any bets yet.
I haven't made a bet yet. I mean, obviously, and if you're watching this show, you probably have an understanding of kind of how it works. They've tried, and I saw actually a clip this morning on like the Tiger win, at least like in 2018. It's like poor Justin Rose. Justin Rose won the FedEx Cup, but they at that time that was like they still had a split event where you had the rolling FedEx Cup points, and then you had a separate tournament, and they've changed it so it's, I guess, because it's easier to follow, right? There's no split coverage. I think it's probably an easier television product to give you. Just here's the leaderboard. But yeah, we want to reward. This is supposed to be a season-long playoff situation. We want to like reward our guys that have been good all season. So we're going to start them in a staggered scoring situation. And I've seen some conversations around how to do it differently. I think we all agree that some form of match play would be better. It's also a highly variant scenario where it's like 18 holes. Is that a great way to crown a champion? I don't know. It's like the PGA Tour has this big, massive prize pool that they have to dish out at the end of the year. And they're like, do we want to watch really rich golfers earn more money at the tail end of the year? It's not something that like I'm super stoked about, but like they have to get rid of this money somehow. I don't know what it is. I would love to see it maybe over a course of like a couple of weeks and go to like a couple different courses, add a little bit of match play element to it, take it out west and do some Pebble or Riv and do something back in like, some beautiful golf courses that we love to see. And just, I don't know, mix it up if you want to do it that way. It's kind of a tough thing to have one champion. It's not a major, like to these guys, it's not a major to them. That's a hard thing.
This is like, let's say you're set. Let's say you're one of the guys who has the money. You have major sponsorship deals. You've won events. You're rich as fuck. Like this is what, seventh fiddle? Like you would much rather win any of the four majors than anything. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4 without
correct.
a doubt.
If you are good enough to have a major or in that you are playing team golf and you want a Ryder Cup. I was
going to say it's the four majors, it's the Ryder Cup and the Players, and then this is that's the problem. And I was trying to put my thumb on exactly why we're disenchanted with this, other than just it's being a small field event, and it is what if the Super Bowl was the seventh most alluring thing you could win in football? That just doesn't make a damn bit of sense. And, a big part of what makes playoffs and end of year championship, solving kind of games exciting. I mean, think about March Madness. Think about even, some fall classics or even Super Bowl runs that we've had underdogs. Like a plucky underdog is fun. That's kind of what I put my finger on. Like, it's really fun to see, Loyola Chicago make a run, even if they didn't win it all. Like, that's what you remember from March Madnesses. You remember, big underdogs making it to the playoffs, like the Rams back in the late 90s, or even some of these teams who just have won 2 or 3 games in the playoffs have done something. The Royals winning the World Series that one year. You just some wild stories like that. And I mean, you've cut off any possibility of that from the get-go because there's only 30 golfers in this, first off. And second off, the staggered scoring. Andy Lack, I actually listened to his podcast part last night and part in this morning just to see what he had to say about it. It turned out he got deep into the country club snob drama, which was funny too. But once he got to it, and it was on my list of things to double check, but he talked about the 5 times that this has happened. And it's basically like Rory went berserk twice.
Yep.
And won from 5 under and 4 under. Everything else has been 2 times the 10 under guys won, and I believe the 5th time was the second place.
Last year was Victor, who was I think was
8 under,
second or third. Yep,
started 8 under. So and he said this from a betting standpoint. It's a good point. It's how we do awards. It's how we do a lot of futures. Like you got to cross some people off, and I don't even know if 4 under is realistic. Even though Rory did it once. Everybody from 4 under is a cross off, I think. And then that leaves you what? The top 5, 6 names. Even if you want to keep Rory and, maybe somebody like Cantlay or Morikawa in there at 4 under, what are we at? 8 or 9 guys? So I think that's what takes away a lot of the allure of betting on this event is there's like 7 or 8 people, maybe fewer, that can win this. And again, hat tip to Mr. Lack. He pointed out the same thing I'm going to point out is we've probably never had one of these where the top 2 have been quite this strong either. He talked about his fair number for Scotty or Xander to win this being like minus 400. And I didn't strongly disagree with that. He joked about minus 275 is what's offered. It's like, it's probably value. So it does. Oh God, what did I write? I started to suss this out in the newsletter, and I wrote like, it takes away any sort of drama that we might have. Like, we actually probably are sitting on 2 outliers that Rory was able to do what he did twice. Like, if we play this event this way 10 more times, feels like that probably doesn't happen again. It's likely the top 3 or 4 guys that win the next 10 events. And I'd said, it's like, what if we, USSR hockey match? Hey, let's, USSR has been good for like 30 years. Let's start the match at 5-0. Like, right. That's what we should reward them for their season long, So I don't have the answer. Match play is hard to pull off because at the end of it, you're having a 1v1, which leaves massive gaps in airtime.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? They want to make it a good television product, right? And that I understand. And that's why that's how we landed here. And we have to all be aware of that. And that's really what their design is to, they have investors and they have bosses and ad revenue that they are beholden to. So their goal is to do something to reward a season-long ending to the season, knowing that, again, their Super Bowl is essentially in April with a handful of other ones along the way. And I like the element of match play. If you did some sort of staggered thing here where like a handful of guys are, at a certain point you earn, if you're below the threshold, you're one and done. If you're above the threshold, you move into like the losers bracket. So like even if you've been like Scotty can't get bumped and one and done and lose and be out for the season. He moves in to the losers bracket. He continues to work his way out. And then all of a sudden you can find, Scotty, Xander in a different way. That's some sort of way to like incentivize the top of the guys. I don't know. I'm just that would be really interesting to me because I think that would be not great television per se, but like put it at the backdrop of while some of the other guys are playing for something. I don't know, like a 72 hole or 18 hole, like actual stroke events. I don't know.
Are you familiar with the FA Cup? I may have just solved this.
No, is this soccer?
It is soccer. So are you familiar?
I'm a zero on soccer.
Yeah, but you're familiar with the English Premier League, and it's the highest level of soccer probably in the world.
Right. They have relegation.
So there's 20 teams, and you understand relegation. So there's a level below that, and there's a level below that, and there's levels and levels. There's like 20 levels of that pyramid. So the FA Cup is something, similar to what we saw with the in-season tournament in basketball, or how the European basketball teams have to do Euro Cup or Euro League, where they're playing another league while they're doing their league season, whether they're in the Liga for like, Madrid or some of these Turkish teams. So the FA Cup is a tournament and it's a bracket, but they don't introduce I had to look this up. There are 740. It's a 745 team bracket, which is very big. People joke about making March Madness bigger, and that's a problem. 745 teams are in this bracket. So obviously, Manchester City they get a bye to the 10th round or whatever, however it works. They slowly introduce the upper leagues, but you do get fun storylines of some fuck all team from God knows where on Glastonbury that's like, the butcher is the goalie and they all have jobs and they just win like too many matches because sports is unique and sometimes variance kicks in. And suddenly this team that, is shit, county team that won too many matches is playing against like a high level EPL team. And, every few years you get a really fun story like that. that's maybe how the match play works, where, they set up these other events, the Monday qualifiers, if you guys aren't familiar. So every Open has a Monday qualifier where they have usually another course nearby in the area where they play the qualifier. So you get another course nearby these events and you play some Tuesday match play where, hey, guess what? It's based off last year's ranking. Everybody who's like 200 to 299, you are in a bracket to start. And on Tuesdays, you have to go play wherever this tournament is. And you got to make it if you want to be trying to advance in this, because there's a lot of prize money. And then eventually you start, as the bracket gets smaller, you start introducing the big names. And it just kind of goes, it'd be fun if it went on like all year long. And I don't care about, single elimination at that point. If you get by to the fifth round, you're Scotty Scheffler, you should be beating, I don't care how Charlie Hoffman's been playing in the match play for like the last 6 months. You should be able to take him out 7-6. Such is life. So I don't know.
Hoffman beat Scotty at the Waste Management this year, right? I mean, it was Charlie Hoffman and Nick Taylor and not Scotty. That's
how life goes. So
yeah,
I don't think we're going to see anything like that, but that would be really fun if they had some long ranging, hey, we've been doing match play. This bracket has taken 4 months to get here. We're down to the final four. And then you do, for fuck's sakes, not Memphis or Atlanta. It's so hot. It's going to be so hot again. Like, figure it out. Go play up at Bethpage. Go play at Oak Hill. Play somewhere. I mean, it's not like it's not hot up here, but it's so hot in the South right now. It's August. So I don't know how they do it, but I would like to see some Northern golf. And match play would be very cool.
I like Memphis. I think it brings an interesting, there's some risk reward in that back nine. And I think it's interesting. Event. Can we play there somewhere another time in the year? Like, I'm not saying don't go to that course.
March.
Yeah. Like, just incorporate it at another time. Same thing with this. Now we have, obviously that's kind of the interesting point for what we have going on this week at East Lake is we have a completely renovated golf course. No one's put a peg in the ground here since they walked off last year. This is no members have played here. There's no golf has happened. So, we're seeing a Andrew Green reno for the first time. He's had some successful ones in his pocket over the last couple of years. And it's hard not to be encouraged based off of his track record and some of the things that we've heard. So I'm interested to hear some more stuff from the players today around their thoughts on it. Cause that's also been the interesting thing here too, is that you got Rory and Xander with some pretty immaculate course history here. And Scotty's kind of, giving it back. This is, a couple times here being the 10 under guy and has not taken it down here too. But now everyone's kind of starting from scratch. So that doesn't typically bode super well either. So that's another interesting part of it too. And that's another thing too. Scotty, if you kind of look Scotty's track record of like first time there, that's not been good for Scotty. Scotty's track record on like, I've been here a few times, I figured it out, and now I can roll and dominate. First time there, Scotty is not very fantastic, I guess, compared to his rolling baseline. So new course, they stretched it out a little bit. It's going to be par 71. New, everything is new, and that's Andrew Green's thing here. Is like basically everything that we've had since the last time you saw it. No shot is the same. Is what the talking point is. So I'm interested to see how that plays, and banking on a place where course history I think has mattered a little bit. We have a little bit more of a variant outcome here this week. But again, to your point and what Andy was saying there too, we do have a situation where it feels like the top two guys have pulled away. And you kind of go down with the way that they've done this too, is that they've made the playoffs triple points. And that's how you have Hideki in the 3 spot. He didn't even play last week. Like, had a great opening round in the backside. He's like, my back's a little tight. I'm going to take off. Like, full Hideki. Keegs just goes berserk. And now he's 4th, right? No one's looking at this going, Keegan had a better year than Rory, who's won 3 times on the season. Colin, who hasn't won, but has been in the mix every single week, feels like. But now Keegan is 2 shots ahead of those guys. Ludwig has been, on cruise control and in the mix very, often. These guys have now worked their way into a spot where they're way ahead of everyone too. So that's just kind of another wild piece of are we going to have Keegan again? Are we going to have Hideki with the back variable chase down Scotty and Xander, it feels like a tough spot for that too. So the without Scotty markets, I know even FanDuel has without Scotty Xander markets. If you're looking to get, I think, cute down the board, that feels safer to me. Obviously, you're paying the freight for that, but those are out there as well. So that's kind of the way to shop the betting markets.
Not only that as well, you have the gross score. You
Sure.
can bet, just they call it the ghost leaderboard or shadow leaderboard. I'm trying to think of the name that some of these give it. So like, somebody could shoot 10 under, but if it's Tommy Fleetwood and Scotty shoots 4 under, he's still not in first. But and the ghost leaderboard, his gross score would be the best. And that's something you see people get involved with every year. And I think there's a few guys that are further down the board, like Russell Henley going nuts on a course like this that requires a high degree of accuracy. Like his numbers can be kind of big for gross score. Like there's a couple of long shots you can take on gross score where, hey, this guy finished 9th out of 30, but he actually shot 3 strokes better than a lot of the other guys. So I am going to take some shots on the gross score leaderboard. I might look at that no Scotty, no Xander leaderboard and see what we can get for, probably Rory to see, his price. You can see it there.
5-1 on FanDuel. Again, shop around. So just wanted to show some. This is, again, winner without Scotty, Xander, but with starting strokes.
It is, it is still, the normal leaderboard. So I don't mind Rory in that spot where he just has to, jump over, what we'd say, Ludwig, Matsuyama, and Keegan at that point. He's shown good course history here, but like you said, basically any quote I've seen has said, hey, this is a different course. Like basically you could have just dropped us off at a different course. So not only did they removed hundreds of trees, they redid everything. Like every inch of grass was replaced, essentially, is what they said. The bunkers are completely different. The trees are gone. The fairways are different sizes. They rerouted. They added that stroke to the par. It's no longer a short or a longer downhill 4. It's kind of a shorter 5. So it's saying like maybe course history is not going to matter at all here. Although it is still similar agronomy, still similar, but it's still in the same spot. We're still in the southwest or southeast, excuse me. So, guys who've played well in similar courses, maybe we could look at giving them a little bump, but at the same time, it's probably just going to come down to accuracy here because, and again, hat tip to Andy Lack for pointing this out, but this is one of those that's might just become obvious as we start to watch. You're hitting out of Bermuda rough if you're not accurate, and it can really affect spin. And if you can't control your spin, these greens are brand new. And as he pointed out, brand new greens are hard as rocks. Like that's just how they build them. That's how you have to build it. They soften up over the years from being used. And if you're not controlling your spin and your flight out of the rough, you're not going to catch many greens. You're just going to have a really bad time hitting your greens in regulation. So honestly, I don't know if there's going to be a higher penalty for rough at a lot of places that don't actually have that tall a rough, where it's just going to be ball control, flight control out of that Bermuda rough, and really, really got to upweight accuracy here, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like you said, the agronomy stays the same. We still have Zoysia fairways. We still have Bermuda everywhere. There are more shaved runoffs around the greens too, which I think is a better test. I think we all agree. Shaved runoffs around the green. To Andy's point here, when we're missing greens, that's inevitable because there is a high missed fairway penalty. And I think that will remain. Being able to pick it clean off of short grass is harder than when you have thick, rough aprons around the green, and that shot's very similar to everyone. There's definitely a skill level to be able to navigate chipping on short surfaces when you're pitching into an elevated green if you were unable to hold it too. So yeah, I mean, fairways are still going to matter here more so than a standard event, and that's kind of what we've seen here historically, and I think we still see that again. But again, the guys are hitting different shots, kind of some mid-range accuracy points in terms of proximity, where you have some like heavy in that like 120, 150 bucket, and then a lot of 200 plus. Kind of the dead zone there is those little 150, 175 that we typically see a lot of, and there's really no short You're not going to have any like 100 in. Basically, those are going to be, chip shots. They're really not on the card for most guys here. So that's a thing to look at too. If you like, and again, like I always push back on that, because if you're telling me fairways are hard to find, then I have to divvy up proximity from the rough, proximity from the fairway in an equal amount, and distances and all those things get kind of tricky to navigate. But I do think that that's somewhat of a thing here too. So looking at the screen here, 72 hole stroke play winner without starting strokes. This is if we were dealing with a normal tournament, Andy. We're just betting the tournament, no starting strokes. And it's interesting to see Scotty and Xander at the same number, considering, Scotty was a little bitch fest last weekend. You had a little bit of some variables. You had some of that pine straw, some of those wiregrass things. That's not the best version of Scotty. You had a little bit of elevation, some like thin air of Colorado. It doesn't seem to be the best Scotty. Not playing his best, and Xander just kind of cruise control again, finds himself in the mix on a Sunday like he kind of always does. But this is the board if you were just betting straight up. Rory 10 right behind those guys.
Yeah, and like I said, Russell Henley at 20-1, 22-1, something I could probably get interested in as far as some of the guys that are further down the board. I don't know. I'd have to look a little. I'm probably tossing Wyndham. I don't know if his long and a little wild translates super well here. Sung Jae Pops, possibly. That's somebody I could get interested in. Maybe Finau as well. Like if I'm doing this, I'm doing some small bets and 2 or 3 longer shots.
Yeah.
I don't believe the winner of this has ever been the -10 guy.
The winner of the 72. Yeah, I don't think so. Right. Because actually, I think Hovland, did he win both last year? I think he won both.
Yeah. Obviously, Rory won both when he did his 2 from 4 and 5.
Yeah.
But both times where we saw the the -10 winner win the event, they were not the lowest aggregate gross score or what have you. Somebody else was a lower score further down the leaderboard and didn't win. So something to look at. I don't know. Yeah, it's not with Scotty having to navigate a brand new course, and I know he grabbed his back the one day and he looks a little, I don't know, he looks a little tired of playing golf and raising a kid now. Looks like he's ready for an off season, honestly. I don't know. Like, is the money going to motivate him? Like, oh man, I really got to win this. And because like, what's his floor? What if he plays pretty bad? What's he getting, like 5th? What if 5th pays like $1 million, right?
No, it's more than that. I think because I think it was a Justin Ray tweet, which shout out to Justin Ray. Always good stuff. He had said in 1994, 2 golfers had made like $7.5 million. It was Tom Kite and Greg Norman. 3rd place in this event. Then that's career earnings. 2 guys in 1994 had made that money. 3rd place this week gets that prize.
Yeah,
$7.5 million.
5th place is still like, well, this doesn't make sense. I think 5th place is wrong in this article I'm reading. But 4th place is $6 million. It says if you took 10th place, $1.75 million. Like, again, he's made his money. Yeah. I don't think it's be like, oh man, I really need this 25 million sounds nice, but it's not going to like change his life at this point.
No, it's already over 40, I think, for the year, just on course stuff. Yeah, I think you're getting at least 500,000 for even being here. Basically, I think is how the bottom guys get paid out. So, I'm just interested to see. I think, he doesn't get the full off season. I'm interested to see how much we see of Scotty outside of the President's Cup, obviously, which is what we have here. This is without Scotty only. So if you want to get into some Xander at +110, that's with starting strokes. So that's maybe interesting, right? To Andy Lack's point, like if you think Xander and Scotty at -275 are pretty interesting and probably value comparatively. If I'm pulling Scotty out of it, and I got Xander at +110, that might be a pretty interesting look, to be honest, with starting strokes. So might have to circle back to that one, price that out, see if that makes any sense. So everyone can head over to the site, read Ron's preview on the Tour Championship. Is obviously Ron's previews. All of Ron's content will continue all off season. Again, if you take advantage of that rebate deal or you subscribe now for the season, the rabbit hole will continue to be a thing, updated, adjusted. Showed this yesterday, and I will show it to folks again today. New addition here on the player pages, which is really, really cool. If you click on any player's name in the rabbit hole, you obviously get to their player page. Obviously, fantastic photo of Xander here. You can get their rolling performance. You can get an understanding of how they play in certain conditions here. Rolling summary here, I think, is super useful as well to get an understanding of how they're playing. We now have finishing position summary, which is awesome. And you can't find some of this anywhere else. You're going to get top fives, top 10s, top 20s, even the top 30s and top 40s, which you cannot find elsewhere. The made cut number you will see does not match the starts number. That's because that is taking into account the no cut events. Those have been removed. So the made cut is in events where cut is a thing. You got a rolling 3 years down here as well. So you can get an understanding of, baseline prices on finishing position bets. A great way to look at, again, how a player is playing compared to year over year, which is just absolutely awesome to see. You see, the leap here for Xander in particular, winning events, top 5 rate coming in very high, higher than normal. Top 10s, he's basically doubled up the season. Just the level of consistency here is through the roof. Again, you can get obviously the results page as well and see specific performance at each of the events. So again, click on any name in the rabbit hole. It'll jump to the guy's player page. You could search up here if you want to look at anyone in particular. Get all that data, dialing back now to 2016. So we'll continue to add new things in the rabbit hole and on the site in terms of data and stuff for you. So seasons past, you were relying on our content to keep you up. Ron will continue to do all content. Typically don't do a DFS show in the off season, but Andy and I will pop in here on the off season. But every written piece of content there from Ron on the site will remain. So you get his DFS player pool, his betting articles, course previews, all that stuff. And again, obviously the rabbit hole as well. So take advantage of that offer. So what do you want to do here? We're kind of pushing on time. We can look at some models that have already been built.
Let's look at some expert rankings.
All right, let's go in here. We can pull up some models that have been already built by folks. We have a couple for Andy Lack. Our first look show, you can see Matt Vicenzi of Tapping In podcast. He's got his here too. We got 2 from Lack. Let's see Lack's second. Take a look at what Andy did here second time. You want to see, again, Inside Golf podcast that my Andy here is referencing. This is Andy Lack's model here. You can see Xander at the top, Scotty, Hovland, Ludwig, Henley, who you called out there, Tommy 6, Cantley 7, Rory 8, Sanjay 9, Horschel is his top 10. The interesting thing that I want to point out, as I did yesterday, we got 30 guys. So when we get into the gradient and the discrepancy in certain areas, especially when you get into certain categories here, it's a little bit tricky to get an understanding of how a guy has performed comparatively. He might not be as bad as it says, right? The actual delta between his performance and, what you saw. This is a great way to do it. I'm going to bring this up here too. Ron had this call out yesterday. It's a great way to take a look at. You can actually download into the CSV, and it actually will give you the score of what someone had, and then it'll show you here in a different way. So you can actually see the discrepancy of score comparatively. So this actually will show you how big of a gap between what this total score is with Xander and Scotty, and then the rest of the field, kind of understanding the tiers a little bit here too. So shows you in a different way where guys rank in those models. So, which I think is pretty cool. So he's looking at strokes gained off the tee. He's looking at driving accuracy. It does not bucket it out for us. So let's go back here and see if we can look at. This doesn't let me do 2 things at once, which is a problem. But I like that. I like that ability to kind of look and share it in a way that shows you kind of what the actual math is and where the gap is between first and second here. So see, he's looking at off the tee, just blanket bucket last 36 rounds, accuracy as well, last 50 rounds. Again, I would love to see some distance from the edge of the fairway, Andy. Let's get that in there here. Off the tee on difficult to hit fairways. Interesting. Again, I think there's a little bit of assumption there because we don't know how it's going to play. 36, last 36 on approach. He's bucketing out fairways, 125 to 150, like I was touching on, and fairways 200 plus. He's looking at greens and reg from the rough last 50 rounds. Let's see if we have that Bermuda. Yep, Bermuda filter on for that. I think that makes a ton of sense. Around the green last 50 rounds from Bermuda as well. Looking at, man, he looks at a lot of stuff. Bermuda putting last 3 years. Birdie or better from the rough. Greens and reg fairway. This is where Zoysia, again, small sample. We don't get a lot of Zoysia. He's looking at course history on Eastlake, even though we get a redo here. And last one is strokes gained total. Corollary courses. Innisbrook in Florida that we come down here for the Valspar, and Sedgefield, which we just played a couple weeks ago for the Wyndham Championship, is corollary courses. So, hey, your boy Russell Henley, or my boy Russell Henley, who you shitted out there, the top 5 here as well. Any thoughts on Andy's model?
Yeah, I wouldn't. He's ours. Shared custody, I would think.
Love it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to probably put together any sort of model using, anything that makes sense and not have Scotty and Schauffele near the top. That's gonna be like, Ludwig isn't someone I'm excited to bet on right now, I guess, despite his skill set. And I don't know that length is going to be uber important here as well for some of the guys who hit it a long way. It's like, if you're long but not super accurate, I'm not sure I'm super in love with you. So I don't mind some guys with some lesser driving distance that have the high end accuracy. You can see 1 and 2 there, right in a row. Tommy Ladd and Russell Henley. Maybe that's my bets. Tommy Ladd, Russell Henley in the just go low gross leaderboard, because they're both like 2 under to start. They're not winning. They're clearly in the they're in the cross-off range. So, but they're going to be 20, 25 or bigger to win the gross scoring title. So, a couple guys I'd be looking at. It's just, hey, accuracy. You're good enough to be here. You certainly have the approach game. Like, obviously, Russell's good enough on approach to find his way to these greens, as hard as they will be. And yeah, I'm just probably looking for some guys with some high upside, big distribution guys.
Aaron Rye's interesting in like the just straight up market, like at like 50 or so in change. He just, especially with maybe Sedgefield being a corollary, giving a high weight to accuracy off the tee. Not played quite as well the last couple of weeks, but just all season long has been so strong. The putting on Bermuda has been really good. Let's see where he's popping on that, which is, I think surprising. Not great comparatively, but I mean, part of it is too, like, my point is I was looking just last 50 rounds at these guys, and like, you look, there's one guy, Matthew Pavon is the only guy in this field who is losing strokes, and barely, like less than a tenth of a point strokes gained over the last 50 rounds or whatnot. So, right, we're in a 30-man field. These numbers are relevant to each other, but all these guys have been playing good golf for the majority of the year. That's why they're here. So it's definitely a unique week, even in the rabbit hole too. So Aaron Rye is interesting to me. This feels like something like Colin or like Patrick Cantley would like show up and do well at, where they've had kind of like a little bit disappointing year compared to what we would expect for them, and they just kind of show up and win somewhat of a big prize money / meaningless event in a way, and take their way with a they work their way into the top 5 from where their starting position is, but no actual heat because it's the shadow leaderboard. No one even knows it's happening. So that feels like something that's interesting to me, but those prices aren't fantastic either. So yeah, I don't know how to approach this week. It's not a week that I love to bet, even in the alternate markets.
And you do have to have the shadow leaderboard. I think I built one in like not Excel, but Google Sheets last year. So if you bet any matchups, that's all going to be based on gross score.
Yeah.
And it's so confusing to do that when they start at different strokes. So like, I definitely built one where it would just figure it for me. Like, all right, where are these guys in relation to each other? So I'll be looking at a little of that, but yeah, for now Tommy Ladd, Henley, a couple guys in that, and then possibly that Rory 5-1 or better in the without basically to finish third.
Yeah. I like Xander, the Xander without Scotty market. Xander plus 110 without Xander with starting strokes feels like a pretty good value. I'm going to price that out and see if that is a good value and see if there's a better price in that and see if that is an option in other books. But Xander without Scotty is something I can definitely get behind here. So a little bit more easier to stomach. Or maybe just Xander, at that point, I should probably just do Xander, plus 470 in the straight up market and take him to take the whole thing down. So
I was just going to say, if you made me bet something in the straight markets, it would just be Xander at the price.
Yeah.
Considering how close I think him and Scotty are, and I know there's a 2-stroke difference, but getting almost 5-1 on him to just essentially play three shots better than Scotty at a brand new course, essentially.
Yeah,
I could get down with that. I don't hate that.
Yep, probably a worthwhile look. So, all right, buddy, we get a week off. We hashtag no days off, but we get a week off of golf. But we'll be back with the start of the swing season. Procore, artist formerly known as the Fortinet. We'll see if Max can find his game. Poor Max, just struggling.
It's a good wives and girlfriends tournament too. Like you see a lot of guys, like the wives who don't always travel, they always make their way to that one. Oh, what if we went to Napa? And it's still a little warm, but Northern California's not too bad. So, for me, for Ryan, for Betsperts Golf, and all of us here, if you have any questions, again, about the Rebet deal, limited time offer, at Betsperts Golf on Twitter, DM us. We can answer any of your questions, help you get it signed up. Again, $10 gets you a year. That is cheaper than $250, which is the normal price. Limited time. Take advantage. Probably only a couple weeks of that. It's hard to tell exactly when that will expire for us. It's based on some extenuating circumstances on the back end. So don't ask me.
Before we go, let's do 5 minutes on the Ryder Cup. The President's Cup. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you given any thought to? The U.S. team, we're not very good, but I think we're gonna win, obviously. But in terms of who makes this team, who doesn't, because it's so funny. Like I feel like we spend so much time talking about the Ryder Cup and who's on that team, who's gonna make it in the President's Cup. It's just like they're gonna announce the team soon, and it's like no one really cares because it's the President's Cup. So
I know it's not as prestigious for sure, but so for now, Scotty, Xander, Colin, Patrick Cantlay, Wyndham Clark, and Sahith Theegala are your automatic qualifiers. This will be played up in Montreal.
Yeah.
This is
accuracy course.
It is. If you want to go back and look, they did have a Canadian Open back here a decade ago. They did have a President's Cup here. Longer ago than that. So they have used it. I'm sure the courses of maybe had some changes since then. I haven't dug in too deep on that, but it's their top end is Matsuyama, Kim, Sung J M, Jason Day, Adam Scott, and Benny On. Like, although our team isn't, it's maybe strong enough to beat the top Europeans in Europe, like this should be a sizable favorite, even in an event maybe they don't care about quite as much. There's some people that very much care about the President's Cup, and I think there's they understand there's a responsibility to come and play good golf in a few weeks for this, and it should be lopsided, but at the same time, once you get past the first 6, it's not as lopsided. And whether it's close or possible upset probably comes down to those. So it'll be interesting to see who the picks are to fill out the team.
Yeah, we're in Montreal. We have we have Mike Weir. We have a Canadian captain, and there are 5 Canadians in the 7 to 15 range on the international team. I am absolutely fascinated to see how many Canucks make this team, because it's like, look, you're already dogs. Just lean into any possible advantage that you could have and just bring all of them. Right? They're all right there.
They should be playing that course already. Like, hey, guess what? You're in. Go to Montreal, start training.
Yeah. Connors is 7th. I think Connors and Pendrith are on the team.
Connors is in. Yeah.
Yeah. Connors is in for sure. Pendrith is right there. Nick Taylor is 12. Adam Hadwin is 13. Mac Hughes is 15. They're all right there on the cusp of that team. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how many Canadians make the team. I think they should absolutely lean into the one advantage that they have. It is a international game. It's, we rotate back and forth. It is in Canada. It's in Montreal. Bring all the Canucks and let's just see, what happens there, right? You have pretty solid starting 6, I would say, with the international team. Like it's really not bad. And then lean into it. Like otherwise you're taking, Cam Davis, Minwoo Lee, Bezaden Hoots, Siwoo, like again, fine, but just lean into the Canucks side. I'm fascinated to see what the Americans do on the back end of like, what do we got? Because we have like our next guys are Burns. Burns made a massive jump last week. Big Tone, Henley, Keegs made a big jump. He's already been named vice captain for the team.
That's right. I wonder if he'd play. I don't know that he'd play because he kind of needs to figure out this captaining thing. He has a bigger event coming up soon.
Andrew, he wants to play on that Ryder Cup team. He is set on it. He basically, I asked him flat out the conversation that you and I had when I was there at Sedgefield. And I said, hey, at what point, because you're an emotional player. That's part of, I think, what makes you appealing to like fans at times. We feel your feels when we watch you play. And it seems like you're already all in on this process of being a captain. It's not like something you're going to kind of turn the light on, next March. How does that not impact Keegan on the course between now and then? Because that seems like it would be really hard to balance. And he's like, I want to be on that team. I want to be playing on that team. And if I'm even close, I'm going to be on that team. So like he's got the mindset already of playing. I think he wants to get himself reps as like how do I have a captain role and a player role? Because I think if he's even somewhat close, I think he's going to put himself on the team next year. I really, really, really do. So I'm not reporting anything there. I'm just saying
what would make that interesting is if he's on the President's Cup team as a vice captain and plays and just plays terribly.
Or
I wonder if that would change his mind. I don't.
Yeah, 1,000%. That's why I think this is a good place to get reps of juggling both responsibilities. So I think he probably is on the team, which is really fascinating. But take some young kids, right? Like Akshay better be on that damn team.
I don't know who everyone would be, but yeah, it should be Burns, Finau, Akshay, and probably.
Can we throw Nick Dunlap on the team?
Probably Brian Harmon. Like at this point, like those are 4 that I would take.
I mean, Max was good in Rome. He's so off his game right now. I mean, I would love to see look, if we think Nick Dunlap's going to be a guy, do what the Euros did, bring Højgaard, bring Ludwig, get them some reps. Like, can we out? Yeah, let's get Nick Dunlap some team reps. I don't know. I think that would be interesting instead of taking a Brian Harmon or Chris Kirk,
like JT really
Denny
reaching down the board.
Yeah, right. Like give JT the summer off. Spieth is out of the mix here, right? He's going to get surgery. Let's not bring Cam Young. We've done that. Like this is an accuracy course. I don't know. I'm.
You know who I don't hate? Billy Horschel.
Yeah, 1,000%. He would love to be a part of this.
Yeah,
playing great golf.
I was going to say a guy who's actually playing decent golf right now.
Yep.
Above some of the other names. So I don't have a lot of takes on who outside of the Canadians who we should take for the Euro team, but I'm excited. I like these events.
Yeah,
and it's my local time essentially, so it's fun because it's no fun like waking up early. And I mean, I did bet on Europe. In the Ryder
me
Cups.
too.
That part was fun. Like I bet them in like some alt lines as well.
It was out to 2-1.
Waking up that first morning, they're like, oh my God, they're just shellacking us right now.
Yeah.
And that happened for 2 days.
I stayed up. I don't miss that stuff.
That's the fun about the President's Cup. It's our turn to just go to Canada and beat some ass. So
yeah.
From the lakes of Minnesota.
I just want the President's Cup to mean something because it's going to be in my backyard in 2026, and I want to be excited about it when it's here, when we get to see Medina 3 for the first time in like 6 years. So I'm hoping that it matters, and I want to see international team get good. We can make that a little bit of a closer thing. Let's have that happen. So
yeah. So
all right, cool. I want
all
to
right.
touch on that.
No, that was good thought process there. We'll get back into it. We'll do a President's Cup show when we get to it in about a month. So, like we said, we're off next week. Enjoy the break. Enjoy the Tour Championship. We'll see you when we see you.